Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones podcast.
Hey everybody.
Glad you could join us. I'm Doug Smith and with me is the anointed and, let's see, you're anointed and ordained.
I'm an ordained minister, yes.
Yes, ordained. That was the word I was looking for, ordained.
Now I'm definitely not celibate. But yes, Mr. Jones. That's. Yeah. I'm Nathan Jones.
Yeah, Mr. Jones, the other half of this duo. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about various subjects: movie, television, pop culture, crossing
all the fun stuff.
Yeah, a lot of check marks. We got some notes. We did plan this a little better than we did last time.
The setup is a lot nicer.
Yeah, we've went with a fold-out table as opposed to the TV trays.
Nice paint.
It's a project table. What can you say? But, yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Me and you have recently seen some movies.
Yes, we have.
Yes, some recent releases out in the theaters.
Summertime.
Yes. Normally this is blockbuster season, but towards the end of summer it tends to fizzle out. And, yeah, it's just studios releasing some movies, trying to get them off their slate, and essentially it turns into tax write-off season is what the months of August and September turn into.
Yeah. Now, which one do you want to talk? I haven't seen. Okay, we'll talk about Valerian.
Okay, so on Valerian, visually, awesome, pretty movie to look at. You can definitely tell who made this movie.
Fifth Element.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the director's work, he's made The Fifth Element, Leon the Professional.
Best movie he's got.
Best movie he's done, but this movie has a lot of similarities in The Fifth Element, and you definitely tell they chose the right director as far as the content of this movie. It's kind of a space opera, so to speak, but this movie, a lot of people don't realize, was a comic book / graphic novel, and it was a precursor to Star Wars in many ways, in that the graphic novel originated in the 60s.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, so George Lucas and a lot of other science fiction writers took a lot of their influence and their ideas from the graphic novel Valerian. So you get to see that. The downside is this movie is coming out 50 years too late.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest problem I had with this movie, is that it just felt like a rehash of stories we've already been told. We've already seen all these sci-fi cliches
done in Spaceballs.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing new in this. I mean, it's got good actors, actresses. It's got a good cast, got a good director. Special effects, all the CGI was great. It's just, there's nothing special about this movie.
Now, what I'll say is, and I haven't seen it, obviously, to everyone who's listening, that I heard it's just like, it's going around, just like the name suggests, there's 1,000 planets, it's just going around from scene to scene, not really focusing on anything, and then there's also the two actor and actress. Now, I'm not a big fan of the actor. He just plays the same guy in everything he does.
Baby Leonardo DiCaprio.
Baby DiCaprio? I don't know.
I don't know what the mix-up hash would be on his name.
It's just, he plays the same guy. He was decent in Chronicle, and he wasn't that good in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He just seemed really weird to be Harry Osborn. And he was just a weird emo kid, and now he plays that role really well, I suppose. And now he's trying to be this hero-esque Han Solo. And I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the movie, but that's what I get. Yeah. So
if I had to rate the movie, I'd give it a 6. It's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. Like I said, it really doesn't bring anything new to the table. Unless you just want to go see some pretty CGI, it's really worth skipping. Normally, this would be the kind of thing I would recommend people go see at the Palace, a second-run movie theater. Yeah. But since it doesn't exist anymore, wait till that shit hit Netflix and watch it for free.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about the Palace at all?
No.
Okay, that's fine. All right, we're moving on to The Dark Tower.
Yeah, so you saw The Dark Tower. This is something I wanted to watch last week when it came out. Went and watched Valerian instead because it was something my wife was interested in seeing. So it was her birthday last weekend. So happy wife, happy life.
Yes, Doug is happily married. We're not being paid to say this at all. We're not putting. There's not a gun to our head either.
I'll blink twice.
If the listeners can actually telepathically watch him blink somehow, yeah, there's that.
That means help me.
He needs help. But the Dark Tower, yeah, Matthew McConaughey. All right. I messed up his name. Idris Elba is the main character, and then there's this one kid that I can't remember his name, but he did pretty well. Idris Elba, in my opinion, was the best part of the movie, but just like a little bit like with Valerian, they had a lot of source materials. Apparently, this is a series by Stephen King. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many books there are.
Several.
But from what I've gathered, and I haven't read the books, so they took from a lot of the different books and mashed them into a movie. And that's where I can see a lot of the criticism. However, from someone who's never seen or read the book but have seen the movie, they did a decent job of putting it together. However, I've seen this movie before, or it's in some kind of context, mm-hmm. and there's really not much character development, nor is there anyone to latch on to, or if I was 13-year-old Mr. Jones, I would enjoy it a lot. Mm-hmm. But since I'm now, 20-something,
older and wiser,
it's just a mediocre film with some decent acting. And I've seen it all before. There's some cool special effects, but not too much more than that, just like with Valerian.
Mm-hmm. It's disappointing to hear the thing where it sounded like they've compressed multiple stories and novels into one movie. That always bugs me when it just, to me, I get the sense like the movie studios don't have the faith that this is going to generate enough financial profit to make the second, the third, or whatever. I mean, can you imagine if they tried to compress Lord of the Rings
into one movie
and try to, obviously you're going to have plot holes galore. It's going to feel very jarring storytelling, and I hate to hear that's what happened here. I haven't read the novels. I've read the graphic novels, nerd. So I'm familiar with the story, so I would probably have the exact same reaction that you did, picking up on the things that it seemed like they just crammed it all into an hour and 45 minutes and kind of rushed through it and left a lot of the character development out of it.
Yeah, it was an odd movie, and the opposite of the thing is like The Hobbit, where you make it way more than it already is.
Yeah, you spread it too thin.
Like, don't do that, movie studios. You listen to this random podcast. Mm-hmm. You listen to us.
Yeah.
Don't do that, movie studios.
Yeah, take notes. You also saw Ghost Story, right?
I saw Ghost Story, with Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. It's an indie film, so if any of you viewers out there are indie watchers, somehow try to find this movie wherever you're at. There's a couple theaters here that have it, but it's a pretty much a swan song to I don't know how to describe it, anxiety and just depression, and also just like loss. And if that's too much for you, don't watch that movie. But I like melancholic movies. I like sad movies because to me they're more realistic and they hit home a little bit. I'm an depressed individual.
They're easier to relate to.
Yeah, and so the premise is, and I'm not really giving anything away. If you've seen the trailer, you'll know. But like Casey Affleck dies at the beginning, and he literally looks like a Scooby-Doo ghost, and he has one of those bed sheets with eye holes as a face, and then he's there through moments of Rooney Mara's life and then the house's life, and there's a lot of long shots in this movie that like take way too long.
It's like single cuts.
Yeah, single cuts. But like after the first 20 minutes, if you get used to that, then this movie flies by, but also just sucks you in. So it's a really good movie if you like that kind of stuff, though.
Yeah. It sounds interesting. I've seen the trailer, and it definitely piqued my interest.
It's got some nice indie vibes, music too.
Mm-hmm. Good. So hopefully we'll see that in Netflix or something soon, because I'm sure it won't have a very hard push to Blu-ray or DVD. You're not going to see a commercial for that. So
it's also A24. The last thing they did was It Comes at Night, which was also polarizing for many people. Mm-hmm. So
good. there was some movie news happening this week.
There's a lot of crazy movie news.
Yeah, go ahead and touch base on that. The first was there was a lot of Deadpool 2 news. There was images released of... Let's go ahead and show the picture. So they released the first picture of Domino. So she's going to be...
Fire.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds posted this on his Twitter feed, I believe, and this was the first promo image of her in costume.
I will admit that I'm not too familiar with Domino.
Okay, so she's kind of a minor character in the X-Men / comic book world. She's not a big to-do. She's not a main A-list heroine as it would be. Yeah. What I remember the most about her power sources and her set of abilities was she controlled chance and circumstance.
Oh, okay, I know her. Yeah.
So hence the name Domino. Just by her entering into a room, she could essentially. Sorry, the echoes.
It echoes, yes.
Yeah. Just by her entering a room, she could essentially sway luck to her side. So if she's in a gunfight, the bullets are gonna maneuver around her and miss her and likely to hit something else. So that's kind of it sounds like a silly superpower compared to Deadpool, who can reanimate, never die, and things like that.
So you think she's going to be like an anti-villain, just like Deadpool?
I'm not sure in what aspect they'll use her in.
Okay.
One thing I did notice was in the comic book form, they've kind of reversed the color palette. Okay. So in the comic book, she's got very bleached white skin.
Bleached white skin, yeah.
And she's got a black circle around her eye.
Oh, okay.
So this being an African-American female with a white, not a big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
But other than that, character, outfit, and everything's pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
So
I'm thrilled to hear that.
Yeah. I'll be anxious to see how she's shown in the trailer and what her role is in the movie.
And something I like about Deadpool is it echoes too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna listen to this anymore. It echoes. But yeah, no. The thing I like about Deadpool is that a lot of it's like he's obviously an anti-hero / villain. I mean, he does good things and bad things, and pretty much all the villains are pretty much the same way, and same with the heroes. Like some of them. I mean, obviously, like if you've seen the first one, Colossus and Mega Atomic, whatever Warhead. That girl in that movie, I mean, they were heroes, but they also did some bad things. At least Colossus was trying to be good. But
he tried to keep him alive.
He tried to keep him in line, but yeah. So there's that, chaotic, neutral, that kind of stuff. So I always like that. But anyways.
And the second part of big news was the other half of the updates for this movie. The other half of the cast, the big casting news was...
Cable news.
Cable, Josh Brolin, his first picture in costume as Cable. So I think they pretty much nailed it. I'm very familiar with Cable and how he looks in the comic and his mannerisms and everything. And this, aside from the over muscular sized images we saw in the 90s where all the comic characters looked like they were 340 pounds of pure muscle, he's definitely been working out, you can tell. Josh Brolin's definitely put some time in the gym to bulk up for this role.
And the barbershop.
Yeah, I really liked it. One of the funny things about superheroes in the 90s, especially anything drawn or created by Rob Liefeld, who was also the creator of Deadpool, is there is an unnecessary amount of pouches and little compartments on all their costumes, no matter what. And I don't know if it's on purpose or just pure dedication to the way the character looks in the comic books, but in his costume, he's got lots of pouches. Although I will give them credit, they all have something in them.
Yeah, they have something. Yeah.
Whereas the comic, they're all just like closed off compartments, and you're like, what the hell did they need? 10 Batman utility belts on
for his bat shark propellant. Duh.
Yeah.
Well, I was asked when this leaked. My friend tagged me in a picture, and he asked me about it because he was kind of a little like right in the middle, and he was asking my opinion on it, and I'm like, honestly, I think he looks fine, and I think that Josh Brolin as him was a good idea.
It was a great idea.
Yeah, and so I like Josh Brolin. And actually, it's surprisingly, I got on his radar a little late, but luckily I jumped on board, and I like pretty much everything he's done.
Yeah. The thing about his casting that I think is interesting is I think it serves two purposes, and this is just me speculating at this point, is I think he was cast number one because he's a great actor.
Yeah.
But number two, there's the whole rights issue between Marvel Cinematic Universe and them owning their own properties, and then Fox owning all the X-Men franchise properties. So I think this was maybe a little backhanded approach at Fox to control what the MCU can do with their characters, because they realize that he's also cast as Thanos.
Yep, exactly.
But if they're contracting him to do multiple Fox studio movies as, Cable in the Deadpool universe, then he's not going to be as accessible as they maybe would have liked for the Marvel movies.
Yeah, for sure.
So those two sides have yet to ever come to an agreement. It's not
Unlike
not
Sony.
likely. Yeah, it's not likely to happen. All the news information I hear about the Fox and Marvel relationship is that it's never good every time they come to the table and try to work something out.
And now that Fox has with Deadpool and Logan,
they've actually had some success. Yeah,
those are two of the best, in my opinion, superhero movies in quite some damn time.
Yeah,
and they, were successful with that. I mean, obviously they had the string of bad X-Men movies, and then the horrible Josh Trank Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, that set them back like 15 years.
Yeah, for sure.
They still haven't figured out a way how to dig themselves out of the hole. And the thing I hate about that whole Fox versus Marvel thing as it is right now is ever since the rights issue and that Josh Trank Fantastic Four movie tanked, Marvel has essentially killed off the Fantastic Four in the comics.
The comic book universe,
they refuse to publish Fantastic Four comics right now just because, number one, they don't want to give Fox free publicity.
Yeah.
And two, that movie literally hurt the image of the Fantastic Four franchise so much that, they don't want to dig Fox out of a hole, and they can't dig themselves out of this hole that they've created.
Although, if you are comic book readers out there, that Hickman run
very good.
Is very, very good. Yeah. Anyway.
Also, so there's a Death Wish remake. You were telling me about this.
Yes. Death Wish, Charles Bronson starred in the original. They're doing a remake with Bruce Willis. He pretty much looks like himself from Die Hard, without hair.
So the thing I remember about Death Wish is, number one, is Charles Bronson's swoop mop top and his 70s porn stash that he had in every movie. So to hear that Bruce Willis is going to take over, and Bruce Willis being the bald bastard that he is, it's such a polarizing...
They also went from New York to Chicago now. So, and here's where it gets in trouble. And this is where all the controversy is coming in. Mm-hmm. So, if you... I was initially shown the movie by a friend telling me there's controversy around it, about it being alt-right and also being racist. And I'm like, what? Like, okay. And so I watched the trailer. Mm-hmm. And I watched it as objectively as I could possible. And, there's a couple of bad guys in the movie. And the first couple bad guys are Russian or like some Eastern European descent. And then there's one scene where Bruce Willis is talking to an African American kid in bed, and he's like, "Who did this to me?" He's like, "The ice cream man did this to me," or something. And then he went and met the ice cream man and shot him or something like that. But he was African American too, and so I don't know where this racism thing comes in.
People are kind of reaching.
I think people are reaching. It looks a lot like every single action movie I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. It doesn't matter what color, that comes in. So I don't understand the racism. Now, the alt-right thing, I think people are getting at this is like a pro-NRA movie. Oh. Which I'm like, have you seen any action movie ever?
Yeah.
So in that same sense, Atomic Blonde is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't watch John Wick and then sign up for the NRA the next day.
Yeah. So I don't know where people are reaching at. It's like, I guess there's this whole diversity thing of just... We have to mix up the action heroes and stars. I'm like...
You have to kill a certain number of, gender and age and race-specific people nowadays because everything is such a politically correct
Get your politics out of my movies, please.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
I don't care about politics in movies too much. I mean, I watch a lot of movies like The Danish Girl, for instance. I mean, that's a transgender movie, and I take my politics completely out of it, and I watch it, and it was a decent film. I just wanted to watch, acting. And it's the same with trying to think of other movies like Moonlight. Is a very race heavy topic. It's also gay because he was, African American and gay. And I took my politics out, and I thought it was a fantastic film. And that's how I view film. I I don't go in there with an agenda thinking.
Well, that's how it should be, because all art is subjective.
Exactly.
So, granted, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but you should go into anything and everything, even with a judgmental mindset, open-minded, clean slate. You shouldn't go in there with a partial bias that already, pre-paints the picture that you're looking at. Because then at that point, you're not giving it the benefit of the doubt. You're only looking at half the picture because you're covering it up with your preordained subject.
We all have biases. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our own flaws, but to recognize them and also looking at this is an art form. Like this is not political. Unless you're watching a documentary, then it could get political, obviously. But I don't know. So that's enough about Death Wish because I don't want to get on a.
So when does it come out? Do you remember?
I don't remember when it comes out. I think it comes out either in September or October.
Okay, so yeah, tax write-off season.
Yeah, tax write-off season.
So yeah, even the studios are probably not happy with this.
It looks like like I said, every action movie you've ever seen, pretty much from the 80s or 90s. In some 2000s.
So it's Die Hard without Yippee-Ki-Yay, motherfucker, essentially.
Yeah, well, they have to bleep that because they make it PG-13.
Oh, of course, because you got to have the 13-year-old kids watching the action.
I don't know if it's rated R or PG-13.
I'm sure it's 13.
I don't know anymore.
They try to skew most things towards 13 to get as many tickets out as possible. Other big news was Netflix made a big acquisition in the comic book world. They bought Mark Millar.
Millar.
Yeah, however you want to pronounce his name. I believe it's actually, you're right, I think it's Millar. He's got his own company / universe that he's kind of created called Millar World.
Yep.
Those of you that might not recognize the name, he is responsible for the Kick-Ass movie.
Yep.
Those 2 movies. He's also responsible for Wanted, Angelina Jolie movie a couple years ago. Very good, well-received movies.
I've never seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No, but I've seen the Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah.
And
it's similar thing. Over-glorified violence is kind of something he's kind of...
With some comedy in there.
Yeah, kind of got a niche for. He's also a very well-respected, multiple Eisner Award-winning comic book writer. In fact, he's responsible for writing Marvel's Civil War.
Yeah, that's how I know his name.
Yeah, so he wrote Marvel's Civil War, not the movie, but the actual comic books that the movie was based on.
Which is pretty different, actually.
He was also responsible for the Old Man Logan storyline that Logan was loosely based off of. So he's written a lot of iconic crowd-pleasing stories over the years. Unfortunately, these stories that Netflix have just purchased, it's not going to be Marvel or DC Universe. It's going to be his own creation, his own characters, which there's a lot of untapped source material. I've got a couple other graphic novels that he's pushed out that I've enjoyed. Like I said, he's kind of got this one thing figured out, which is hyper-violent comedy, over the top, slow-mo CGI. Yeah. Almost like Kingsman. Yeah. Really. He didn't have anything to do with Kingsman, but very similar to that thing. So I'm anxious to see what Netflix does with it.
Who did that? Matthew Vaughn. Mm-hmm. He's doing the new one, which looks good.
So I'm anxious to see what Netflix does with it. Another exciting thing about this was Netflix's first foray into something that isn't Marvel.
Yeah.
So we know they've signed a long exclusive
with all the Daredevil,
with Defenders.
Defenders,
They've got this Netflix universe, so to speak, that ties into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they've obviously shown that they're going to progress this further and further because it's having, a well-received season after season, with the exception of Iron Fist.
Here's the thing, Doug. I've only seen Daredevil season 1. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen anything else.
Okay, they're all great. Iron Fist just lacks so much. If you watched Iron Fist first by itself,
you would think it's the greatest thing ever.
That was pretty sweet.
Pretty good things.
But compared to the rest of them, it's just night and day difference.
And speaking of Netflix, I didn't bring this up but apparently Netflix is about $30 billion in debt.
That's what I heard, and that's one thing I've never been able to try to wrap my head around, because they've been making large acquisitions and big moves for certain franchises, and I've just never been able to mathematically put that together.
A month.
Put that together in my head. How many people could possibly be paying them $8 a month that they could finance these things? Yeah. Because I'm not sure how they generate extra revenue, because there's no advertisements during these movies and shows when you play them. There's no advertisements on the apps themselves when you log into Netflix. So I'm not really sure where they're generating income.
I don't understand how they do it either. However, I don't think they can go down because the public the public has a need for it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they have a large backing from all of us, and so I don't think they'll ever go down.
They've had a fantastic track record with original content so far.
For sure.
And that's why I like to see them going in this route with Millar World, because this is something that, granted, he's had some success with movie studios picking up some of his properties, but the problem when you get into that is you essentially sign your soul over to the devil. You don't get full creative control over what comes Netflix. To the screen. Yeah. You may want, a certain scene that you think is important to the story.
Yeah.
Studios like, no, I'm sorry, that's too graphic. That doesn't. It makes the runtime 5 minutes too long.
Yeah.
We got to hack and slash it, and that's when you really suffer a lot with the storytelling.
Yeah.
As you start hacking and slashing, you have the higher ups and the big wigs telling the story for you, just from the sense of, hey, we think this is how we can commercially profit from it the most. And I absolutely hate to see that for good storytellers.
I see that a lot in a lot of these like superhero films.
Yeah, Spider-Man 3 is the top tier example of studio interference. Like, first two Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, 1 and 2, general population will say good movies. Most will say great, especially Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, for sure.
Spider-Man 3, fucking train wreck, and you can...
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Well, that's in 2.
Yeah.
There's a train wreck in 2.
Is a fucking train wreck. One of the biggest reasons with studio interference, Sam Raimi has said numerous times in interviews that he didn't want to tell that story. He didn't want to have 3 super villains in this movie. He didn't want to cast Topher Grace as Venom. He didn't even want Venom in the movie. But he had all that pushed on him, and basically they said, you either do this, or we're kicking you to the curb.
Yeah. I wonder if Sony did the same thing with Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Rhino and stuff.
You almost get the exact same feel, because Amazing Spider-Man 1, I felt that Mark Webb got to tell his story the way he wanted to. And Amazing Spider-Man 2, they said, okay, now that we made some money, you're going to listen to our ideas. And that's absolutely...
3 villains.
Yeah. It's almost like scene for scene. They fell into the same rabbit hole. The only thing they didn't mistake themselves was the emo dance scene.
Yes, and the funny thing is, all the villains were so ridiculous.
Yes.
So ridiculous. Jamie Foxx is like just a weirdo slash like just a meme. Like, he just had I'm trying to think of he just had so many weird quotable one-liners.
It was just a weird cliche of a lot of nerdy characters.
Schwarzenegger almost-esque in Batman and Robin.
Very similar to that, with the bad puns and the things like that.
Rhino was
Green
horrible.
Goblin was horrible. Yeah, I mean, just all of those. Whereas the first one, the Lizard, you almost felt bad for him.
Exactly.
You understood why he was doing this thing. Yeah, I mean,
that's why we liked it.
But so movie studios, stay the fuck away from the storytellers.
Listen to us again.
Let them tell their stories. Other entertainment news. I didn't write this one down, but I was gonna. Did you see that The Rock has covered up his iconic Brahma Bull tattoo?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you're familiar with?
Of course,
okay.
Of course. I know.
So The Rock. Yeah.
I know what The Rock is cooking. Almost all the time.
So The Rock has an iconic Brahma Bull tattoo on his bicep that he's had for probably 20 years, if I had to guess.
The longest one he's had.
While he was in the wrestling world, that was his logo. It was on his wrestling trunks. He's got a deal with Under Armour currently, which I know a lot of his Under Armour apparel has that logo on it.
Yeah.
He decided recently, and he just released Instagram pictures of it today, but he's completely covered it up from shoulder down to the elbow with a skeletal bull portrait that looks amazing. Apparently it took 22 hours to do.
Yeah.
Very, very great artwork, but a lot of people were just taken aback by this because
it's iconic.
Yeah, it's such an iconic thing, and it's just something you associate with The Rock. You see that image just on a blank piece of paper, you think, okay, the first thing you think of is, hey, that's The Rock's logo.
Exactly,
that's his brand. So
it's on the opposite arm of the tribal.
And that's another thing. Yeah. He's been adding tattoos over the year, but he's always stayed away from that one iconic piece, and he's always kind of kept that arm clean. And a lot of people are just blown away that at this point, the height of his career, essentially, because he's really never been as popular as he has now, that he would make such a drastic choice.
Well, the thing about The Rock is, and I love the guy. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, he can do no wrong.
But he does pick a lot of wrong movies, because a lot of the movies he's in, I cannot stand.
For me, there's something I've always put in my head when I see a good actor in a bad movie is everyone needs patio furniture.
Sure.
At some point, somebody just takes it for a paycheck. Yeah. Samuel Jackson is very...
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage. A lot of these guys, they've been open about the fact that they don't turn down a lot of roles. They're just super excited that anybody would want to put them in a movie.
For sure.
For us, the general audience, we watch a couple of good movies and then we see some shit show and we're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, why are you doing that? I've never seen it, so I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah. But it's just interesting that he would do that. I don't think it's going to hurt his career. I just think
his career's fine.
It's
solidified. Too many people love him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
He could be president. Supposedly he's
him and Oprah.
Yeah, that would
2020.
That's
what I've heard.
The Rock and Oprah.
Bring people together.
Yeah.
Elbows champ. People's champ.
All right. Other celebrity and entertainment news. There's a couple of birthdays today. Woo! August 11th. We're going to go ahead and start a new segment that we'll do weekly. It's called...
Ha ha! You're old!
Celebrating the life and times of celebrities. So the first one we have up today...
is the Hulkster.
The Hulkster. Hulk Hogan turns 64 today.
Every time I try to do his voice, I always go to Macho Man Randy.
Yeah, it just morphs into one. Really, nobody more famous than Hulk Hogan as wrestling. He was the first Rock, as it were, the first person to get from the wrestling world to the entertainment world, being movies. He was in Rocky 3.
Yeah, he was in Rocky 3. Yeah,
he was Thunder Lips.
That's an actual wrestler. Yeah,
as an actual
Charity
wrestler.
event.
Yeah, not really playing anything out of his wheelhouse. But he's also went on to do some action movies, some family comedy type things.
Yep.
I remember growing up watching Suburban Commando.
I know about it.
Quintessential 90s kids movie. I've probably seen it 20 times.
I've seen Three Ninjas. He's in.
Three Ninjas, he plays in there. He's also tried to do some action movies with him being the lead role.
He's going somewhere else.
Yeah.
He's done some action movies.
Yeah.
Online, he's done some action movies.
He has done one of those. He made a lot of money off of that.
He did make a lot of money off that.
But yeah, Hulk Hogan, 64 years old, has been still wrestling up until, I think, maybe 4 years ago.
I haven't followed it in a while, but yeah.
Poor bastard. Definitely put his body through the ringer. But happy birthday to Hulk Hogan.
Happy birthday, old man.
Next one, this is somebody you will greatly appreciate. Mm-hmm. Ian McDiarmid.
Good.
Yes. Emperor Palpatine, as most people would know him. He's done probably 43 films, but most people will always recognize him from his role in Star Wars, both trilogies.
Yes, both trilogies.
Both trilogies. He played Senator
Palpatine.
Or Chancellor Palpatine.
Yeah.
And then he self-promoted himself to Emperor Palpatine a la Donald Trump.
Wasn't he Emperor Palpatine in Episode 6?
Yes.
That's where he plays the two generations, and he just reprised the role. Actually, the funny thing is, I've known him about this role for so long that I had a friend who turned me on to this really horrible. I want to say B, but it's probably a D or F rated movie. I can't remember what it's called now. Great, this is a good story. Attack of the. What is it? It's like.
Killer Tomatoes?
No. They're like rats. But like shrews, killer shrews. Attack of the Killer Shrews.
Wow.
The second one. There's a sequel.
There was enough to make a second one. Okay.
Well, my best friend, for some reason, he loves these movies, and I don't know how I got roped along with this. But he's the bad guy in it.
Okay.
And I'm just like, that's Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, how the mighty have fallen. But, well, yeah.
Again, everyone needs patio furniture.
Falling down a 500-foot shaft directly into the main reactor of the Death Star.
No. But yes, happy 74th birthday to Ian McDiarmid.
Wait, was Hulk Hogan 74 too?
64.
Okay, good.
So 10 years apart. You can tell by the white John Waters pencil-thin mustache.
You couldn't tell by the nice wrinkles he's got over there?
Yeah.
And the teeth?
So.
All right.
Happy birthday to him. Other news. August 8th was the 31st anniversary of this movie, Stand By Me.
That's a good growing coming-of-age movie right there.
Great coming-of-age movie.
Stephen King again.
Stephen King movie. Holds up to this day. You can watch it to this day. It still has the same kind of plot and storyline that you can relate to as a millennial and or...
a Gen X or Z or whatever.
I think anybody in the last 40 years can relate to this movie.
Unless you're Dexter Morgan.
Yeah.
A
lot of famous people are in this movie. Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton was in this movie. River Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people may not
Remember that name.
But he's the older brother of Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
So a lot of people are familiar with Joaquin's
the less weirder.
Yeah, the less weirder, more successful actor. Unfortunately, River Phoenix died of a drug overdose in the 90s. Yeah. So his career kind of was short-lived.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Also, Corey Feldman was in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry O'Connell, and this is the thing that I always loved when I grew up and saw Jerry O'Connell's future body of work. In this movie, he's the short, fat kid. Essentially, he's a different version of Chunk from the Goonies.
Chunk from the Goonies, yeah.
It's the very same type of characters. But you look at Jerry O'Connell in the 90s and early 2000s where he was the quintessential good-looking frat guy.
It's the story of us,
yeah.
Really.
It's amazing just to see how he aged and grew up and, you know, how he blossomed as an adult and still managed to have a career. A lot of these people went on to have future acting careers in adult life. Corey Feldman, probably the weaker of them, but still had a successful career up until the early 90s.
He became a lost boy.
Yep. So if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it.
I have it on Blu-ray, and I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and it's on my wish list again, and so I can't wait to see it again.
Rewatch that shit. It's so good. Other than that, we'll go ahead and start some shout-outs. So last week, I trudged. I brought you along to a secondary podcast that I'm on called The Podcast from Springfield.
Bunch of cool dudes right there.
Yep. Podcast from Springfield. Main content is Springfield-related news and alcohol. So basically microbrews.
Up your alley.
Right up my alley. But I'm able to...
You drunkard?
Yeah. I'm able to participate and appreciate the artistic approach to the critiques that they do of these micro beers and basically any beer world. They've done a World Cup of beers where they statistically ranked and taste tested all different beers from different countries, put them up against each other, tournament style, and an ultimate victor was chosen.
How many beers were there?
Total, I know each round
Over
had
9,000.
Anywhere between 3 to 6, depending on the country, and I think there was at least 10 rounds.
Holy
so
shit.
There was at least 30 plus beers that were taste tested and given a chance.
How much money do they have to spend?
Quite a lot. The downside is, we're limited in what they could get in the Springfield area. So the next thing is going to be the World Cup of Springfield beers. There's a lot of local micro brews in the area that they're going to do the same kind of thing, pin them up against each other, get them critiqued. They're judging, various different
Mother's Beer,
White River, and they're also judging
Springfield Brew Co.
Different criteria, taste, color, packaging, presentation, all those kind of things. So they're really doing it the way it should be done.
Yeah.
And they're going all out, I know, financially on this.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, besides the one meeting I was with, the one podcast I was in with you, they seemed like really cool dudes and really understood what kind of people wanted to hear about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's a podcast from Springfield. It can be found on Spreaker, hopefully on iTunes shortly. Right now it's not on iTunes, but you can find it on Spreaker.com/a podcast from Springfield. Additionally, let's go ahead and talk about your YouTube channel.
Yes, I have a YouTube channel, which I have posted the first podcast, as well as I have other YouTube material. I mostly do movie reviews there. I also do a couple of genre series lists. I've put up a Blu-ray collection video. For some reason, YouTube loves that. I don't understand it. I don't understand me showing off my collection. It's kind of gaudy to me.
People like to window shop.
Yeah, and so, I watch these videos to just get recommendations, honestly, because I'm an avid Blu-ray hunter.
I think it's two parts. I think it's one part somebody wanting recommendations of movies they should pick up. They want to see what other cinemaphiles and things like that are enjoying. And I think another one is a smaller niche. It's people that really have no concept of how to set up a media room / a collection. They don't know how to display it, what to do. They don't want to just stick their movies, DVDs, Blu-rays on the floor, but they don't have a clue how to arrange it. I know I was guilty when I was putting this theater room together.
And it looks like freaking amazing.
I looked at a lot of people that had already built home theaters, and I was like, okay, what did they do? How did they set it up? And I kind of game planned from there and worked outwards. So it benefited me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have more movies than Doug. However, his presentation is way better than mine.
Suck it, Mr. Jones.
Well, I built my bookshelf, so shut up.
Well, I bought mine.
Oh, yeah. Well,
somebody in Sweden built mine.
IKEA.
Yep.
IKEA built it. Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's literally Nathan Jones. If you type that up, you will find an Australian actor who's been in the movie Troy.
Screw that guy.
Yeah, he's also a convicted felon. But
double screw that guy.
Double screw that guy. But anyways, if you type in Nathan Jones movie reviewer or Nathan Jones movies, you'll find me. I'm there. Check out my YouTube channel. Make sure to comment, subscribe, or whatever you want to do there.
Leave dirty comments.
Yeah, stuff like that. I try to upload as much as I can, as quick as I can, but there's a lot of priorities I have in real life.
Yeah, because you're generally watching a movie and then posting your review within, 3 days?
Yeah, usually.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's good, especially with these new releases that people are, on the fence about. I know
yeah.
You're as bad as me in that as soon as a movie comes out, you want to see it. So whether it be a Thursday or a Friday, you're trying to get on the ball.
Exactly, yeah. And so usually I do it the day after,
mm-hmm.
or because I usually watch them at night. And then I wait the next day, or I wait 2 days after that. When I have time during the day, I can do it, and usually just gather my thoughts. So
that's good. You got to let it marinate in the brain a little bit too.
Yes.
Formulate, the pros and cons, what you liked, what you think worked, what didn't work.
Also, this is a big one. I don't do spoilers, people.
Yeah.
I don't like spoilers thrown at me. I don't like other people spoiling things for me. So I don't do that. I literally just, like Doug said, I do some pros and cons of usually like filmmaking. Without getting too much into spoiler territory, and also I just summarize some of the plot.
Yeah, and that's one of the main things I love about your movie reviews, because I've seen all of your YouTube reviews, is the lack of spoilers. Because there's several sites that I will kind of peek at to look at their pre-release review of a movie, and a lot of them have spoilers throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And there's one website that I'll go to specifically now, and I go and I literally, as soon as the page loads, I scroll to the bottom as fast as I possibly can, just to try to get the monetary digit that they've assigned this out of 10, whether it be 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever. And then I immediately have to scroll away, because right next to that they still put some pros and cons that are spoilers next to that damn number. So I almost have to put blinders on just to get these damn reviews.
And it's really hard, especially if it's crucial to why the movie's so important.
Mm-hmm.
A spoiler would be crucial to why the movie is so good, and I can't say it because I'm just watch it, or I'll say don't watch it, or do watch it.
Mm-hmm. It would be like reviewing the movie Titanic. It wouldn't be a spoiler to say the ship sinks.
No,
it would be a spoiler to,
by the way, spoilers, everyone.
Yeah, divulge any of the romantic story that builds up and tells itself throughout the movie.
Yep. So definitely check out my YouTube channel. Once again, Nathan Jones, just that name, but type in Nathan Jones movie reviewer if you can't find me. So,
Want to do some questions from the audience? We got some questions on Facebook.
We got some questions from Facebook. One is our favorite book adaptations.
Favorite book adaptations.
So the book. Now we have the film.
Okay.
So what do we have?
So no one will argue the fact that the book is always better than the movie.
Except for one. In my
okay.
opinion.
What's your
Lord of the Rings?
Okay.
I like the Lord of the Rings movies more than I like the books.
I think that's
personally.
Yeah, and I can see that easily, especially just with the visuals.
Yeah.
That the movie presents, because that's such a, so enveloping world.
Grand.
I mean, you have to see these aesthetically to really understand what these characters are and what they're about. Whereas you can go into pages and pages of dialogues to explain that in the book.
Tolkien is brilliant at laying out a scene. He writes really, really well. So I'm not knocking that at all. But yeah.
But the majority of the cases, people will always side with the book. The book
for sure.
The book will always have parts the movies didn't. Just a lot of times it's whether it be for time constraints, whether it be the studios and or franchise is trying to stretch this across 2, 3, 4, 9 movies. Whatever the case may
9
be.
movies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
So, and a lot of Harry Potter is a great example.
Yeah.
A lot of people absolutely just beat that to death, that the books are so tremendously better than the movies, because there's so much content that was not in the movies that helps. There's side characters that maybe don't have the biggest role in the overall tone of the movie, but they still had a little bit of character development to play overall as the 3 main characters progress through the story. But a lot of that gets yanked out there.
Yeah, I can immediately think of Goblet of Fire. I love that book. But in my opinion, the 4th movie is one of the worst ones.
Yeah. One book that I enjoyed more than the film, and I can't really say it's a film because it was a TV miniseries, but it's supposedly in the works to be a movie soon, is The Stand, Stephen King.
Okay, I was thinking you were going to it.
Yeah.
I was like TV series.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Making a movie. Like,
yeah.
But they are doing
So they made a TV miniseries in the 90s of The Stand. It's pretty good. It's low budget as far as special effects and those kind of things, but as far as the story and sticking to the book source, it did a pretty good job there. I'm anxious to see how they kind of do that with a movie because, again, that's one of those things that it's more than 2 hours worth of content. So I'm afraid that they'll compress it into one movie as opposed to split it to 2 to 3, which it truly deserves.
So tell us, like, what is The Stand kind of about?
So The Stand is it's essentially kind of a post-apocalyptic storytelling. Various characters meet up and they all have somewhat of a connection across different things, but essentially it's their survival through this post-apocalyptic world. And in that, there's also the devil. Okay. The devil has human form, and he kind of plays this...
Unlike Dark Tower.
Yeah, he's completely... he looks like, a guy that you would see at a 90s country western bar. I mean, he's got tight jeans on, he's got a slick back mullet type of thing.
Cowboy hat.
Doesn't wear the cowboy hat, but, I mean, he's all denimed out. He looks very 1992 drunk guy at the bar. But, great actor. I forget his name. You'd recognize his face because he's been in multiple things over the years. But he does a really good job playing the devil.
Okay.
It's a really good story. It's part Walking Dead,
part The Road.
Part The Road.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of The Road, another book adaptation which I still haven't read yet. I'm sorry, everyone, but No Country for Old Men. That's I mean, like Cormac McCarthy. I just read The Road, and also very fantastic film with Viggo Mortensen. But when I was thinking of favorite book adaptations, No Country for Old Men was one of the ones that popped up in my head.
Yeah, it's good pick. Fantastic movie.
And then one more, and we'll get off this. Watchmen, in my opinion, is the best superhero adaptation.
Absolutely, and people were pissed because it took a slight change at the very end where they twisted it just a little bit, but I think that was...
It's fine.
It's fine to me. I'm a huge fan of the Watchmen graphic novel. I absolutely love the way Zack Snyder did that because essentially he made it shot for shot, panel by panel of the comic book. You can essentially start on page 1 of the comic book, and if you flip fast enough, you can keep up with the whole damn movie, and it's amazing.
Just without all the side talk with the newspaper guy. Mm-hmm. Like who's reading it?
The Black Freighter.
Like that's the only thing that people got pissed about.
Well, that was the thing. He actually shot that, but it didn't get cut. So there's actual different Blu-ray release. I think there's like 4 fucking releases of this, but one of them literally has the Tales from the Black Freighter.
Yep.
In between there, so you literally get the entire thing start to finish. And it's like 3.5 hours long, but it's exactly.
A long movie, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said that because I wasn't even thinking.
That's the one time I like Zack Snyder's. Besides 300.
Yep.
I like the way he had that dark color palette.
That was the perfect movie to pull that off. Why he puts that in every movie he does now,
I have no idea.
It's kind of a bummer because that's kind of been his.
That's just like his niche, his thing he does.
That's his thing.
Yeah. All right. Second question I had was movie soundtrack scores that are better than the movie itself.
So we both stumbled on this. We thought about this, and all we could think of were movies we liked.
We like most movies.
Yeah. So it was hard. The only, like I said, I'm gonna have to divert my answer. It's kind of partially an answer, but it's also a different tangent altogether.
Say what are really great movie soundtracks?
So really great movie soundtracks.
Sorry, if you want to answer your question. Yeah.
Interstellar, I listen to at work on a weekly basis. I feel like I'm solving the world's problems when I have the clock theme playing for whatever reason.
The soundtrack is just gorgeous. I have it on a record. Vinyl record.
Basically, anything that Hans Zimmer has ever put out, Danny Elfman, anytime he puts anything out, I absolutely love any and all those composers' work. They haven't done any bad movies as far as I'm concerned.
No. Heavy Art Neverett, I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Pan's Labyrinth, he's done. And I think he's doing the new Shape of Water, the new Guillermo del Toro movie, Guillermo. Can't talk.
Guillermo.
That looks like an amazing movie, by the way. If you haven't,
it does. I saw the trailer for it when I was watching Valerian. It's good,
and I'm really thrilled about that movie. But anyways, those are some. The Red Turtle. I just saw that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of that movie?
Oh.
You know Studio Ghibli, right?
Yes.
Okay, if you don't know Studio Ghibli, it's
Spirited Take. Was it Take Me Away?
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away, and then
Mr.
Ponyo.
Ponyo, My Neighbor Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke. There's a lot of really classic Japanese animation films.
Some of the only Japanese anime movies that I will watch and or recommend. Generally, anime I don't get into.
I'm the anime guy, but
but those movies are so good that they've even drawn me in, and I've given them the Doug Smith seal of approval.
Nice. One of us, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. But no, going back to my skirt tail thing of, a soundtrack that I enjoyed more than the movie. It's not so much the soundtrack that I enjoyed more than the movie, but like songs played in movie trailers.
Sure.
Or presentation of a movie trailer. Like, there's been a lot of movie trailers that I got super excited about that had a great, perfect song choice that really gave you a good tone of the movie. And I watched the movie and it was completely different.
Yeah.
Like Suicide Squad #1.
Oh my god.
The Queen song, the way they've cut that trailer, it's fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh yeah, the trailer is great, but
the movie was a fucking train wreck.
How many songs does that thing have again?
Oh, like 32 or something like that?
The first 16 are in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. They spread themselves way across the board with that. Another one is Battlefield LA.
Oh, I do remember that movie.
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, it had a great ominous little, I think it was a Radiohead song that they had auto-tuned in the trailer. And
like
I was
Radiohead at the time.
Yeah, super excited for this movie, and I went in and watched it, and it was, again, a train wreck.
Yeah.
I went in there thinking it was going to be something, and it was completely something different, and I think that was in the fault of the trailer. Not the people to put it together, but the marketing. I'm like, you went in there expecting a certain type of movie, and you were delivered something else. So it's almost false advertising.
And that reminds me of like It Comes at Night, where false advertising. There's a lot of. I mean, we could go on for days about that, but one thing that I thought about, and this movie is not bad. I love this movie to death. However, to me, the trailer is legendary. And that's the first Logan trailer.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I think
the Nine Inch Nails, Johnny Cash.
Yeah, it floored me. I've never seen a trailer like it. Honestly, I thought it was just the I don't know why. Every time I hear it, I can just watch that trailer over and over and over again and be like, that was perfect. Yeah,
there's, like I said, I want to give props to the people that make some of these trailers because they do an excellent job of getting people excited to watch these movies. But yeah, like you said, there's some of these movie trailers I've watched so many times just because it was such a, excellent audio choice for this. Yeah. It really ties in with the theme of the movie, especially after you see it retrospectively and you look back, you're like, holy shit, that really hits home.
Yeah.
In those, 2 minutes and 30 seconds of audio.
Yep, so that's what I was thinking. Also, like maybe Dark Knight Rises. I know we were talking about Hans Zimmer. It's definitely the weakest of the Batman films, but the music is just obviously Hans Zimmer, so it's great. Yep. So
nailed it. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you guys listening. Episode 2, Mr. Smith, Mr. Jones. We're going to go ahead and sign it off. So
and remember, you saw nothing.
You see nothing.
I don't know. What do the Men in Black say?
Shit, we got to rewatch that. I just remember the Flash.
They just bring out the
Ray-Bans.
The Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to dress up sometime soon.
Yeah.
When the fall comes a little bit more.
So, this is us signing off.
See you guys.